Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 22 of the HUBZones Small Business Summit. I am really excited about today's presentation, specifically because, identifying cybersecurity professionals is definitely a huge gap in our supply chain. The HUBZone Council has been working on a number of projects to figure out ways that they can help our small businesses identify the skill sets and the need for staff. So, I feel like this is just a perfect, presentation today, Lee. I think you were reading our minds. With everything that's going on with CMMC, companies are really struggling to be competitive in the market. So I think everybody's in for a real treat today. And I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people watching this recording after the fact. Here with us today, we have Lee Armstead from Peregrine Technical Solutions. As you guys heard when you first came on, this is being recorded and will be posted in the virtual event portal after this session. He did indicate that he likes collaborative discussions. So if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, he asks that feel free to leverage the Q&A. I will be monitoring it for him. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Lee to the stage. I'm going to go ahead and go off, and thank you again. And let's get started, guys.
Thanks, Michelle, for that great introduction. And today we're going to talk about how to use Department of Labor industry recognized apprentice programs, or IRAPs, to help train cybersecurity staff for HUBZones. And once again, if you do have any questions, please raise your hand so I can see. Reach out to Michelle, and we can. She can have a question as well. So I am a true believer in HUBZone. When Peregrine was started 10 years ago, we were HUBZone. It took us about a year to get into that status. But then we were were HUBZone for 3 years, and we actually voluntarily decertified. We got a big contract, and we worked with the SBA and made that happen. I currently run a second company for Gold Belt called CP Marine, which is also a native 8A and HUBZone. And while we were doing this with Peregrine, we actually started up a Department of Labor, the very first cybersecurity apprenticeship that was registered with adults in 2016. And our first candidate was coming out of Alaska. So there's a link there for the news article. So what I did basically was had a middle-aged career changer in Juneau, Alaska, in a HUBZone, employed by Peregrine, going through a Department of Labor apprenticeship where she's taking courses in Southeast Virginia. So, and once again, that's part of the HUBZone effort we're doing. I've also written a couple of papers on HUBZones and cyber apprenticeships and how you can basically combine the two. And we'll talk about that more in this lecture. I was quoted by Inc. magazine in this article here where they were talking about cyber apprenticeships and internships. And it's pretty funny because the lady was asking me, or the editor was asking me, well, what does it cost to do these cyber apprenticeships? And I said, I make money. I make money because they're W-2s and I could charge them out on contracts. So I will talk about that concept as later. But once again, I really referenced a lot of HUBZone talent that was in that paper. And then last month, I've been involved with the Department of Energy Exchange for a couple of years as a session coordinator. And one of the sessions I built and ran was called Building a Federal Cybersecurity Talent Base, which also talked about trying to reach out to HUBZones and economically depressed areas and try to bring in that talent to help build up a base. Because you can't have everybody from DC or San Diego or Hampton Roads, or these concentration camps or concentration areas you have reaching out across the United States to grab that talent. So once again, been in the HUBZone world for a couple of years, and I'm a true believer of it. With that, from a study apprenticeship part, as I mentioned, we have the very first Department of Labor Cyber Registered Apprenticeship Program, or RAP, in 2016. And then in 2019, we did the first Youth Apprenticeship, a YRA. And the YRA is actually a rock star right now. There's a link there. He's participated in the NICE National Initiative for Cyber Education last year virtually. He's a rising senior, so he did that as a junior in high school. He lives in Moscow, Idaho. And once again, he also takes classes from Tidewater Community College down in Southeast Virginia. And so the lieutenant governor of Idaho did a shout out for him in that link there, because he was a keynote speaker at a national conference. So as you can see in the top bullet there, we're have 2 feet into the Department of Labor, both at the adult level and at the youth level for official registered apprenticeship programs. Then in 2020, we were one of the first 18 organizations also selected by the Department of Labor for a third type of apprenticeship. It's called an industry recognized apprenticeship program, or an IRAP. And we're considered an intermediary because basically we went through a vetting process, and basically the Department of Labor said there's 18 organizations out there that can help other companies set up their own apprenticeship programs. Because when I did the first 2 up top, that billet, it took about 6 to 8 months to set up those apprenticeship programs. And for a lot of companies, that's pretty burdensome. So the last administration wanted to speed up the process, and so they designated 18 of us as standard recognition entities, or SREs. And now they're up to about 23 or so. And we're one of the few that are cyber. A lot of them are in other different types of organizations. So if you want to stand up a cybersecurity IRAP, we can make it happen, and we can make it happen pretty quick. And I'll talk more about that process, and I'll talk about why it's very beneficial from a hub zone aspect. Also to make your 40 hours a week and so forth like that. Next, so why is this important? And it's important because all of the cybersecurity dangers, all of the cybersecurity threats that we experience now. I do live on the East Coast, and like a lot of people, we were greatly affected by the Colonial Pipeline shutdown in May of this year. That's an industrial control systems. When a lot of people think about cybersecurity, they think about the internet. They may not think about the Internet of Things. They may not think of electrical, HVAC, water systems, but that's where the biggest threat is. If everybody remembers the big Target store hack that occurred about 6 or 7 years ago, they went through the HVAC vendor to get into the Target information system. So when you're looking at things like industrial control systems, there's a lot of need to upskill your trades, such as those electricians, HVAC, plumbers, and technicians, and so forth. And there also is the need to basically start looking at anything that you're connecting to the internet. The typical story I tell everybody is 5 years ago, you had one modem and one router in your house. Today, you still probably have that one modem and one router, but your refrigerator is talking to your doorbell, which is talking to your toaster, and you're really not talking to you about. And then 5 years from now, everything is going to be talking to each other, but you're still going to have that one modem and router. So we're all focused on the IT side, but we really should be looking at the IoT side. Michelle, you had a question?
Yeah, it's clipping out on you a little bit. So I was wondering if you came off video, maybe that it might be like a bandwidth issue or something like that, because I don't know if you're getting a bunch of rain like I am. So let's try that and see if that stops, because I know we don't want to miss the things that you're saying.
That's fine. I stopped the video.
Let's try
Is that better?
Yeah, right now, because it was just doing it every now and again. So I'm just testing it out for a second. Thanks.
That's fine. So once again, part of this lecture, we'll talk about how we're trying to train new staff for HUBZones, and we can give you a guideline, and we can also show and actually give you a template to start your own program. So one of the ideas would be to find organizations interested in starting their IRAPs and how Peregrine can possibly help them out. So the overall IRAP requirements are pretty straightforward. There's 10 of them. And if you look at this, it's mostly around equal opportunity, safety, making sure that you have a plan, that the plan's agreed to and acknowledged by your company, and that you work through with for industry recognized credentials, you have some mentorship and so forth. And we actually, like I said, have a written plan that we can share with you on actually how to develop this plan and then get it submitted and get it approved by the Department of Labor. There are some fees involved in it, but it's very, very minimal. And it ranges from $3,000 to $30,000 to actually set up a program, which is pretty cheap when you're trying, because what happens is, and here's the real key in this, and I'll talk about this later, with apprenticeships, you actually do make money because you have W-2 staff. They're not interns, they're not co-ops. And so you can put them out on labor, especially if you're a federal contractor, you can put them on task and they'll offset any of the fees out. And I'll show you a method to do that in later slides. Looks like Goya raised a hand. Michelle, how do I have them?
You
ask the
can make her the
question?
host, but Gwen, did you have who did you indicate raised their hand? Let me see here. No, it was an accident. He said
Okay,
it
no
was an
problem.
accident.
We're good. Okay.
But hello. I told
All right. So if you look at this, here's the standard process. The Department of Labor is on the left side, and that shows what they're doing. And what they have done is the top left box, they've actually recognized these original 18 and then a few more. So now there's 23 SREs that have gone through and submitted the paperwork and been certified by the Department of Labor. So we're now considered intermediaries, and that's in the middle column, the SREs. And our job is to vet and to take some of the workload off the Department of Labor and to be faster. So on the far right are the individual companies. Those are called IRAP sponsors. So it could be anybody. And once again, I'm very much only focused on cybersecurity. There are, if you want to do other types of IRAPs, I can send you the link, and I think I have it in this brief, and you can talk to other different SREs. But our goal is to basically work as an SRE. Peregrine would work with you, your company, as an IRAP sponsor, and help you develop the plan. And then basically, as you go down through the blocks down there, we help you draft the plan. You draft the plan, we edit it, then we review it, and then we authorize you as an IRAP, and then you start hiring your folks, and then we monitor your performance each year, and then we report out to the Department of Labor. So it's a pretty straightforward process. And once again, the reason why you'd want to do this is because there's a lot of grants out there. There's a lot of funding where if you're an official apprenticeship with the Department of Labor, you can have access to that funding, whereas a typical internship or a co-op, you're doing that on your own and there's no offset of the cost. So that's why you'd want to be considering this. And also your state and other agencies may recognize an official Department of Labor program as well. So there might be other sources of funding to offset cost. Once again, the relationships between an SRE like Peregrine and yourself as an IRAP sponsor, we're a third-party entity that's been recognized by Department of Labor. You're actually the company, the organization that's administering the IRAP, but we can help you out. And then once again, the level of oversight is that we help you to draft and to develop your plan. And then once a year, we need to track how many apprentices that went through the program, and also how many have graduated. If you have any issues or difficulties, if you want to change and adapt your IRAP and make it more flexible. So there's lots of give and take back and forth as part of these relationships. So the benefits to you in this fact sheet over here on the right is down through that link, and it tells you a lot of the benefits as well. First off, you can increase your talent at a reduced cost because these are going to be part-time personnel. And here's the real key, and this is what really makes IRAPs exciting. If you do an adult recognized apprenticeship program, adult RAP, they have to be full-time. It takes at least a year. The first one we did took 2.5 years. So you have a full-time person on your staff for 2.5 years. With an IRAP, they can be part-time. And that is a thing of beauty because you don't have to have them on your task or your payroll full-time. You don't necessarily have to pay them benefits. And so you could literally have somebody that may have a full-time job somewhere else, but wants to retrain and become a cybersecurity person. You can put them on your payroll for part-time. You get credit with the Department of Labor. They're not hitting your overhead or your benefits. And within weeks or definitely a couple months, they can upskill and get some training. And then you can either keep them part-time or you can hire them full-time. But once again, you're not having to pay for a full-time person. So that's tremendously more flexible than the traditional recognized apprenticeship program the Department of Labor does. They also down there, in most cases, and I was talking to Michelle about this before, especially for like Department of Defense contracts, they've gone down to where what they're looking for is 3 things to be a cybersecurity professional. They're looking for a clearance, at least a secret, hopefully a top secret clearance. They're looking for a certification, like an A+, Network Plus, or Security Plus. And then eventually you need to be able to get a CAC, a Common Access Card. So with that, you know, they're not looking for a 4-year degree in computer science. They're looking for somebody that knows their way around computers, that can go out and can test out for a certification, and they can put them on the job. And that's a much quicker and a lower bar to fill or to go over than trying to hire somebody and go through a 4-year computer science degree. I live down here in the Hampton Roads area, and I'm affiliated with a lot of the different colleges, especially Old Dominion University. And I keep getting asked, why don't I hire a lot of their master's and PhD students? And I go, quite frankly, I'm a federal contractor. All of my contracts are classified. And so you have to be an American citizen to get a clearance. And so that's just part of the rules, especially being a Department of Defense contractor. What happens a lot of times is if you're trying to hire somebody, like if you're trying to hire like a college kid, a college graduate, it could take anywhere from 6 months to a year for them to get a security clearance coming out of college, or somebody new that you're trying to go through the system. That's a long time to have somebody on full time because they have to be a W-2 for you to put in the paperwork for them to get that security clearance. But with an IRAP, they can be part-time. And they can be, and then they're still a W-2. They're not an intern. They're not a co-op, but because they're part of a Department of Labor program, they can be a W-2 part-time. You can be getting them trained. And in the meantime, and this is the key, is their paperwork for that certification is going through the system, through the Office of Personnel Management, and they'll get that secret or top secret clearance. And that's where the secret sauce is, because you're not paying them full-time, you're not paying them benefits, but you're also getting them trained and skilled up, and eventually within a matter of months at a part-time rate, they will get that security clearance.
Before you move on, actually, like, because I've been talking to a lot of representatives and agencies about this. Do you have any statistics about how many individuals that this is supported for cyber? Because we've been talking a lot about that gap.
Yes,
recently.
I mean, there's tremendous, thank you, Michelle. There's tremendous statistics about how many openings there are for cybersecurity. And depending on which source you look at, it's easily probably about 100,000 people that are gaps in billets for cybersecurity. And that's mainly just for like the DoD, from a contractor aspect.
No, I mean, how many for using this IRAP that like students and individuals going through this program were able to get their security clearance quicker. Because that's awesome. I feel like this is probably the best solution that I've heard with filling that gap thus far.
Yeah, Michelle, it's a relatively new program, as much as it just got started in 2020 with COVID and everything. It kind of got a slow rollout. So I know there's only like 5 of us that are in the cybersecurity realm. Okay. So I don't have the data on that, but what I can tell you is that there's a tremendous amount of gaps for cybersecurity jobs.
This is great. I just wanted to be able to give this, really blast this out, because I think this is awesome. I mean, I can't believe I didn't know about it. Okay, I'll stop talking. But
no, you're fine, Michelle. You're fine. And once again, it is relatively new, and it just came out in late 2020. And then obviously with COVID, a lot of stuff got pushed back. But and that's why I'm trying to advertise this. So, and this
we are after this. This is heavily advertising this.
and this is why IRAPs are so much easier, because they're way more flexible. You can have part-time. And the other part about a traditional registered apprenticeship is they are very strict on who can do the training. It has to be a 2-year or 4-year accredited university. So, for example, we use Tidewater Community College a lot down here in Hampton Roads. Mm-hmm. But for a IRAP, you don't necessarily have to do that. You could use SANS, you could use ISC Squared, you can use any of those other vendors like the week-long cram classes. So IRAPs don't require you to use that 2 or 4-year accredited training programs. So that even gives you more flexibility. And once again, there's only 10 required elements, and I have a tailored Word document that we can give to somebody, and we can map it up and quickly make it look exactly what you need and conform to what kind of skill sets you need for the personnel to come out. And then once again, as I mentioned,
you're going to be a busy man after. Oh man, my brain is just spinning right now. Okay,
all right, that's a scary thing. All right. But and once again, as I pounded in the last slide, they're part-time. So the processing of security clearances is reduced cost. Now, the one thing that has been good about the COVID, if you want to say anything good, is before COVID, easily it was over a year to process a security clearance. I think because some of those federal employees are working from home, they're actually more efficient. And so we've seen top secret clearances go through in as little as 3 months now. because once again, I don't know, they seem to be more efficient once they're working from the house. So this definitely is easier than a traditional RAP or a other types of program.
Well, students tend to go faster in the security clearance process just because they are younger. There's less to analyze.
Right.
So, but the problem is the chicken and the egg scenario is that being able to sponsor them because they have to have a need to know, and this fills that gap. I mean,
Right,
honestly,
right.
like, where have you been? I've been here grappling at this for a while. Jeez. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
No, you're good. You're good. And so a lot of people say, well, why not an internship? And so here's a nice little return on investment that shows the difference between an apprenticeship, an internship, and a co-op. And so if you look across them, you know, this IRAP doesn't require you to be in a degree pathway. You know, it's now, once again, that average length for 12 to 24 months, that is showing a registered apprentice program. The IRAP is much shorter than that. It's usually 3 to 6 months. Notice the new hire conversion rate because, you know, a lot of times the internships, they're not being paid. Sometimes they are being paid. I've had people rant and scream about internships because they basically say they come in, they take my intellectual capital, and they go to my competitor, you know. But if you put faith in somebody in this new hire conversion, and same thing with retention, if you trust somebody, if you help to fund their training, if you invest in them, they will invest in you. And the two cyber apprentices that we had that went through the regular programs, they're still around. They're still working with Gold Belt. One of them we let go to a different company, but they still talk to us and they're emailing us all the time how great the experience was. Let's think about a hub zone for instance, and let's go to the very specific factors that are involved with that. Typically with hub zones, they are economically depressed areas. And so if you are creative enough to figure out a way to reach down to that hub zone, to hire that person, and that they could stay where they want to live. Maybe they want to live there because it's where they're from. Maybe they have family there. Maybe they love the location and they don't want to move to the big city. They don't want to move to an urban area like Hampton Roads or Washington, D.C. They don't want to fight all that traffic. But if you are smart enough to find a way to get them a job as a cybersecurity person, they will work with you for life because you're being creative. You're allowing them to live where they want to. So the typical Washington, D.C. cybersecurity company loses people all the time because these cybersecurity folks know how valuable they are and they job hop from company to company to company, getting better pay and better benefits. But we found that HUBZone staff won't do it, or maybe can't do it because nobody else is as creative as you to find them and get them the cybersecurity job. The only caveat to that is there are a lot of cybersecurity jobs that you need to be in secure spaces. So the HUBZone folks will probably have to be doing some sort of job that may not be allowed to do in like a top secret facility or whatever. I have seen where HUBZone companies have developed a secure building in a HUBZone. And then the HUBZone cybersecurity staff or IT staff would work in that secure building. So that's also a way to fix that. I also think with COVID, people are getting a lot more creative about what they'll allow virtually before. So once again, huge retention rate with cyber folks when it comes to as far as the apprenticeship. Look at the cost. I mean, you know, if you're doing an internship or co-op, even if you're not paying them, there's still a lot of cost for your staff to mentor them and keep them and take them around and let them learn the business and so forth. With apprenticeship, there's offset grants. You can basically get a grant, a contract training, and that's also shown down there in the bottom there, federal training and wage offsets. Yes is the only yes you get is with apprenticeships. You don't get those with internships and co-ops. You also see on the talent supply chain, you can hire from anywhere. You know, most of the time internships are just from university. So you got a smaller talent pool. If you're looking for minorities, if you're looking for veterans, if you're looking for underrepresented populations, apprenticeship is much more flexible and you have a much bigger talent pool. And then once again, the bottom bullet, the rates of a diverse hire shows that as well. All of our apprenticeships are Alaska Native because we're Alaska Native corporation. And a number of them have been female as well. So it's much easier to find that diverse talent. So moving forward, basically, the bottom line is if any company is interested in starting an IRAP, especially from a cybersecurity aspect, we can help you. We can be your SRE. We can also develop a flexible training plan for you. We will help you use any training vendor or any IT cybersecurity type of training you want. There's talks out there about using ISA 62443, which is the standard. There's also talks about using some unified facility criteria or UFGS criteria, which is cyber commissioning. Flexible, your proposed staff to be full-time, part-time, and that's great, especially from a HUBZone aspect. And then because the IRAPs don't require that formal 2-year or 4-year training, new certifications from SANS, ISC squared, some other organizations. So it's incredibly flexible and can definitely help you moving forward from a cybersecurity training aspect. What can we specifically do for you? We have that plan. We can modify it for your own needs. We can tailor it. We can look at both traditional IT and ICS type systems. We can also alert you to any Department of Labor funding to offset costs. And there are a bunch of grants out there right now that I see all the time. And for example, right now, ICF has an $8 million grant where they're trying to offset cybersecurity training. A lot of it's in Virginia, but I'm sure they can do it elsewhere as well. So, and we're pretty tied in with those groups, and we can help send them your way. So the bottom line is, it's, if you're trying to do a HUBZone and you need to find IT and cybersecurity professionals, sometimes that's tough. So maybe the alternative is to grow your own through upskilling in these apprenticeship programs. It's a new methodology that just came out last year. There's benefits because you're a part-time employee. You can give them the skills. It's cheaper than an internship or a co-op. You're going to have a W-2. You'll be able to get a clearance, which is required for most federal and Department of Defense, and we can definitely help you make that happen. And the one thing I did not mention, and Michelle kind of alluded to it, if you're a DoD contractor, you're going to need to be compliant with the Cybersecurity Maturity Model, CMMC, and every company's going to have to do that. So even if you don't have a full-time cybersecurity person on your staff, you at least need to have somebody that can answer those requirements, and this might be a good way to make that happen. With that, are there any questions?
See any right now? Does anybody have any questions before he moves on? I know I have some, but I'm gonna.
Sure.
Oh, wait. So we're at questions phase, so I can't ask questions now.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Well, let me make sure before I go out on my rants. Okay, everybody good? So with the universities and things like that. So we've been doing a lot of stuff with the MSIs and HBCUs. Did they have existing partnerships with something like this to where it can be built into the course curriculum and kind of, linked up with approved parties like yourself? Did I?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. So our courses so far have been out of Tidewater Community College and Thomas Nelson Community College, but I have been talking HBCUs and other organizations and around the traditional registered apprenticeship programs. We could certainly add in that 10-part written plan, you can use any training provider. So if there's an HBCU that wants to have a class or do some sort of certification, they can be part of that. They can be part of that plan. Absolutely.
And then also, so I just want to make sure that this can be with existing and incumbent workforce. So if you have people that are currently on your staff that, don't have the necessary certifications, what type of fund, in regards to the apprenticeship and everything like that, what type of percentage of coverage do companies, should they expect to be able to do this? Because I mean, obviously it's a huge deterrent for businesses sometimes to, these trainings that takes away from their work. Like, I'm just trying to consider, if they were to do this, is this going to be a huge expense to them, or is this something that's going to be relatively almost completely covered?
So when I was being interviewed for Inc. magazine, I literally said, she goes, "How much does it cost?" And I said, "I make money off of my apprentices because I can charge them out to task." And they said, "Well, how does that work?" I go, "Well, every time you do a cyber assessment, you typically have 2 or 3 people. So that junior person, that apprentice, is your junior person on that team. And they go out there, they're not going to be leading the team. They're not going to be doing the passive scans, asking the questions. They're going to be that second or third person, but they're going to be learning because you typically need 2 or 3 people out there to do that. So you can very quickly start putting them on the job because they're a W-2. And you can't do that with an intern. You can't do that with a co-op. And so as a federal contractor, somebody's got to do some of the grunt work when you're on a cyber assessment. Somebody's got to do the first draft or report. Somebody's got to go around and do the hardware and software inventory. You can do that almost from day one. You know what I mean? So the point is, they're a W-2. They're not an intern. They're co-op. So you can charge them out on direct charge task. There is some cost, obviously. You got to pay for some of the training, whether it's through Title Work Community College or IC Squared or SANS. But there are offsets that I know of that I can direct you. I mean, like ICF right now, they're offsetting some of our costs for some of our employees. So there's a lot of funding out there through the Department of Labor to upskill folks, especially in cybersecurity. So I'm sure we can find mechanisms to quickly help you offset those costs.
So if like a county or something like that could also apply for grant funding, like if they wanted to partner with the
Yes.
university and do that,
Yes.
and it can kind of bring in the company. So maybe
Yes.
like for instance, with Garrett College, where I live, we were talking to them about doing different sort of training programs to build it into their curriculum to train up, staff, because obviously our entire county is a hub zone. So for those that are in different areas, I encourage you guys in the chat box, share where you're from, because it might be a good idea to have a conversation with your local, community to see if this is a solution to maybe consider, and reach out to Lee so that he can kind of explain it, because obviously, like, I didn't even know this was a thing. So this is super cool.
And Michelle, what I could do is if you get a list of people, I can send everybody the copy of the brief, and then I could also send everybody a link to ICF, because I know they have funding right now, and they can talk to those folks and see if they I have ICS brief, so I can send ICS brief to you as well, and it shows the different categories that they're funding from a cybersecurity aspect for upskilling and training.
I think that would be amazing. I know that a lot of our resource partners at the agencies are working on a lot of projects in order to upskill workforce. Specifically, Department of Treasury is doing a huge job fair here that's coming up. And I know that this would be amazing. So I definitely remind me after this conversation to facilitate a connection, because I think that this would be, really
and actually,
great.
Michelle, what I can do is I can hook you directly up with the ICF folks. They're in Virginia, and you can have a direct conversation with them as well.
Well, that's what I have you for. What are you talking about? What are you trying to cut yourself out? No.
I will be part of the conversation. I will facilitate that. Yes. So. Any other questions?
Does anybody else have any? So do we have any cyber companies on the call right now? Is everybody being shy to me? Anybody that's been running into issues with finding, workforce gaps? I feel like there's people typing here. Run 1 second. Let's see.
Okay.
You need to wake up. I know it's 9:30 in the morning, but no excuses, people. And Komal did say that would be great. So he definitely does want the information. And I know I personally do. So
yep.
This recording is going to be sent out to quite a few people literally immediately following this.
No problem.
So, I mean, if we don't have any other questions, guys, speak now or forever hold your peace. So I will be collecting mine. And Lee, I really appreciate this morning.
No problem. And once again, I know some people might be thinking about it. My contact data is right there if they want to reach out, and I can answer questions. And when I did the presentation in person in DC earlier this month, I did send out copies to all the participants that were in the room, and I can do the same thing for this one as well.
That would be amazing. I'm also going to have this posted. Will the recording be sent? The recording is going to be posted in the virtual event platform, but also now, if you did actually use the registration function, Ricardo, I can send that out to individuals that avenue as well, because I'll supply the information for the registered participants. But I do know a lot of people didn't have to register because we just supplied the link. So if that's not the case, just let me know. My email is info@hubzonecouncil.org. Again, Lee, this was absolutely amazing. I feel like I have learned so much over the last month because I never really get to participate in the presentations because I'm always hosting them. So this is Geez, where have you been? Oh, a little frustrated.
In Yorktown, Virginia, where the Revolutionary War was won. So,
all right. Well, I really appreciate all of this, and thank you guys for all joining us. We do have some more presentations this afternoon, so make sure you guys all tune in. And as a reminder, we have our pitch competition tomorrow. So I encourage everybody to check it out. Let's see who our top 10 finalists are. I don't even know yet. I'm getting really frustrated because I keep saying, Gloria, who's the top 10? And she's like, it's a secret. And I'm like, okay. So, all right. Thank you guys. And
thanks,
go
everybody.
ahead and take us out, Lee.
Talk to you later. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.